Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I just wanted to make a quick video just before the Jaws of the Lion DLC releases for Gloomhaven Digital. Bit of a primer for people who maybe haven't played the physical game before, perhaps people who don't really know how it works or how it existed or what it was about, just to give people some kind of idea of what you're going to be getting into and my kind of recommended way really on how to approach this DLC and how to get the most out of it and kind of like the most kind of true to life experience, if you like, of playing the actual physical game. So an update from me. I know it's been a while since I uploaded a video to the YouTube channel, apart from maybe a deadly playthrough, but yeah, I've been taking a bit of an unofficial kind of break from YouTube, really. I've been streaming a lot still, so we've been having some good fun on the streams 3 times a week, but I haven't really been posting on YouTube, and it's mainly just because I've been sort of either playing other games myself. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring, but also I've been working on some things in the background, and I'm kind of happy to announce that today I now have a Patreon page for people who might want to support the channel and also get early access to my videos. You can go over to patreon.com/mandatoryquest, or also you can now go over to mandatoryquest.com, where I now have a merch store as well. So if you'd like to pick up a t-shirt just like this one, I'm blocking it on the camera, but there you go. If you want to pick up a t-shirt or a hoodie or a sticker, a few people have asked me before that they would really like the opportunity to just grab a t-shirt with my logo on. So hey, I thought, why not? Let's do it. So go over to mandatoryquest.com for the merch store, and you can find the links for the Patreon in there as well, but it's patreon.com/mandatoryquest. And I'm super excited also to say that my first 2 class guides for Jaws of the Lion are now up on Patreon. You can see the Hatchet guide and you can see the Demolitionist guide live there now, so go check it out if you'd like. But I also want to make it clear that I'm not going to keep those videos there forever. They're going to be there for a week before they come across to the YouTube. So people who want to get the early access to them can do, and would like to support the channel, then you've got a nice option to do so. But I will of course be putting these back onto the main channel as well. Okay, now that's out of the way. Jaws of the Lion, what is it? Well, it is a standalone board game in the kind of Gloomhaven universe and using the Gloomhaven system. It's staged at a slightly different time compared to when the original kind of board game is set, so implementing it into the digital game as the DLC would be a little bit tricky, as well as the story really revolves around just the 4 mercenaries who are actually in the group and that you have the opportunity to play. So the Red Guard, the Hatchet, the Demolitionist, and the Void Warden. So in terms of the DLC, they've had to do some kind of reworking of some of that to account for the fact that in this DLC, you'll be able to play it in the standard campaign mode alongside the Gloomhaven content. So there are a few things they've had to do to kind of make it fit in with all of that kind of stuff, with the fact you might even be playing it with a character that isn't part of the Jaws of the Lion DLC. So they've had to change a few things around to make it kind of fit within that. But so people know, it is a standalone game. It is also designed more of a kind of entry point into Gloomhaven as well. So the idea was it was a slightly different set of rules, streamlined. I mean, mostly the same. You won't notice any difference, and there is no difference in the digital version. But they sort of streamlined the rules to make it easier for people to learn. It had a really good tutorial section at the beginning, which everybody really liked. There's a set of scenarios that you play through that increases in difficulty, but also just adds different mechanics each time, so you kind of add a new mechanic on top for the next scenario. Now that tutorial system is not in this DLC because they have their own tutorial on how to learn the game, so they didn't implement it. What they did instead is they just fleshed out some of those scenarios to just put a little bit more meat on the bones so that they are like a more conventional scenario, if you like. But it is worth considering that this is designed, or was designed, as more of a starter entry point product. And this does mean that in certain situations, some people might find that the scenarios themselves are a little bit different or maybe a bit easy in certain ways. So I want to be kind of clear with people like how you should really approach this on how I'm going to be approaching this, because unlike maybe a traditional video game DLC where it's like, hey, I've completed the game, oh, there's new DLC, I'll go and do that DLC. I think Jaws of the Lion is much different. I really think that people should be approaching this game from level 1, which means that if you were to add this onto your save, so if you've been playing a big campaign save and then you were to open this up and then start playing with the Jaws of the Lion stuff, if your prosperity level is really high, then those characters are all going to start off at like really high levels, and that will probably skew your experience of the game, in my opinion. Also, things like items that might not have been available at the time. There are limited items in Jaws of the Lion, so of course having access to all of the Gloomhaven items is good in a way, but it also will mean that maybe certain areas might be a little bit easier because there might be an item that you can get that will really like enhance that kind of make that scenario much easier, for example, rather than you having to struggle through it because there was no item that existed to kind of help you get through that or that kind of thing. These are kind of small minor things. I don't think that they're really going to cause like a huge issue or anything, but from the way that I'm going to approach this game is I'm going to be starting a brand new save for this DLC, starting at level 1. You do have to play through Black Barrow and Barrow Lair in order to get to the Jaws of the Lion content, so you have to do those two. So we will be doing that, but my intention is to play all of the mercenaries and play them from level 1 right from the beginning, so that I don't have lots of items that maybe I wouldn't have when playing Jaws of the Lion, and also that level cap, right? I'm not like a silly prosperity level, and my characters are just really strong. You can also get retirement goals as well for the Jaws characters, and I will be purposefully picking retirement goals that are, you know, pretty hard to do with the Jaws of the Lion content. I'll try and stay away from ones that kind of auto-complete, if you like, as you go, that can sometimes just happen and you don't really have to focus on. So I'll try and get rid of those retirement goals, because my intention is to play the entirety of the expansion with these characters, and I don't want randomly a character retiring halfway through. So that's another thing to consider. I won't be doing that, and I'd recommend that maybe people try and do the same thing if you are trying to get that authentic Jaws of the Lion experience. Speaking of the characters as well, because the game was considered to be a little bit easier, a little bit more simple than base Gloomhaven, the characters and their mechanics, I will say, are fairly straightforward. So if you're going into this looking for maybe a character with a really cool, crazy mechanic like we're starting to see in Frosthaven, or if you've been maybe even looking at Crimson Scales, there's definitely a more of a base kind of a level of complexity here. And although I think some of the characters do have some good depth, and don't get me wrong, all of the mechanics in this game I think are great, and the characters are all great. They're really good additions to sort of like the general roster. I do feel like maybe some people might go into this thinking, oh yeah, I've played all of these really complicated characters, let's play these, and you might be slightly let down by the fact that, well, they are just they're just like regular Gloomhaven characters, really. They're not some kind of like really special or elite bunch, and they are fairly newbie friendly. This also, again, kind of reiterates my point earlier about you using certain items. If you do use high prosperity items from Gloomhaven in the Jaws of the Lion content, it might feel like a bit of a cakewalk, because, well, the game was designed without those items really in mind. And although you can, of course, mix and match, it was always been made in a way that it's capable to mix and match. I feel like you might end up making things a little bit too easy in certain situations if you are going to go reach for those really good high prosperity items immediately from Gloomhaven. Another small change is that enhancements were actually not in the physical game. You could enhance because there were dots on the cards, so the game was provided with those dots already there. So if you decided to take that character out and play it into regular Gloomhaven, or you wanted to just add the enhancement rules yourself, you had the potential to, but enhancements were left out. So that means for me, a lot of the times enhancements feel like a little bit of an afterthought with some of these characters. At times you can find some good opportunities to do them, some good spots, and there's definitely still plenty to go around, but it doesn't feel like they're really necessary or needed, and it will be something that I will personally probably be avoiding for my first playthrough of the game, just because it feels like I will be kind of adding on an element of the game there that maybe wasn't really considered when it came down to like the difficulty of playing through the scenarios. And as someone who is going to try and play it on deadly and try and play as, you know, as factory as possible, essentially, to get that experience, I'm just going to avoid that. So, but it is worth bearing in mind, I don't feel like you completely ruin the game by using enhancements. In fact, it enhances the game, funnily enough, in many ways. However, as you know, if you are trying to be a purist about this kind of thing, then that really is what you should do, in my opinion. In terms of spoilers, Jaws of the Lion is a little bit weird too. So anything from level 5 onwards with the 4 characters is considered to be a spoiler. Unlike, say, in Gloomhaven, where you had the tuck boxes and you had the envelopes, you know, the unlockable characters were always considered to be spoilers. If you saw that somebody was playing the game and they had, you know, marked that they were playing the angry face, you knew that, okay, I haven't unlocked that, I want to keep myself safe, so you didn't go into the stream, or you don't sort of click on the video, right? However, now with this, you're going to have to be wary that if you go above level 5, then there will be spoilers. So this is something that I'm kind of conscious of, because obviously I'm going to be streaming the game a lot, and I'm worried, like, how do we really like address this? I mean, I'm just going to be playing the game, and if you come into my stream, bear in mind that I may be above level 5, I may not be. Obviously, I won't be early on in the first few days of it, and I'll also try and mark in any of my VODs and stuff where there may be spoilers at certain points, but it's going to be really hard to moderate spoilers for this game. Items as well might be considered spoilers, and also the story in general in Jaws of the Lion I feel like is much more precious for spoilers as well. I think it's pretty bad etiquette to sort of spoil the story, but a lot of people have already played through it, so it's going to be an interesting one. It's different compared to the spoilers that we've had to deal with in the past, and I think people should just be maybe considerate, because yeah, from level 5 onwards, that is really spoiler territory. Okay, so just a quick video there. I wanted to just go over this. Like I said, I'm going to be playing the game as kind of pure as I can, really, aside from maybe using a few of the starting items from Gloomhaven, just so that I can kind of get going, really, and they will help me out a little bit in Deadly. So I'm going to be starting from level 1 with all 4 Jaws characters, and I'm going to be just doing the Jaws content just straight from the get-go. That's my plan, and I won't be sort of retiring anybody, and I won't be probably interacting much with enhancements at all. If I do find that to be too difficult, and I do find that the Deadly difficulty setting is just too much for me, then I'll have the option there to maybe soften things up a little bit by saying, okay, now I can maybe bring in an enhancement or something. Like, I've got other things that I can do then to kind of lighten the load a little bit and maybe make it a bit easier if I do struggle. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good way of playing it. That's how I'm going to do it. If you don't want to play it that way, you really just want to play it with the higher level characters. I mean, the game does shift around the difficulty, right? So if you're higher level, then the enemies will be a higher level anyway. So the game does kind of self-regulate its difficulty depending on the level you are. I just think it's a bit of a shame to not go through that level 1 to 9 leveling experience with the Jaws characters. So yeah, that's why I'm going to be approaching it the way I am. All right, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the Patreon over at patreon.com/mandatoryquest, or go over to mandatoryquest.com where you can find all the links there, and that's where the merch store is as well, if you'd like to maybe grab yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie or a sticker. And don't forget to come over to twitch.tv/mandatoryquest, where I'll be actually streaming Jaws of the Lion tonight with the devs. So if you'd like a sneak peek a day early, we're going to have the devs on. We can ask them some questions. They can go over some of the changes they've had to make. And yeah, it should be a really fun stream. So come over to twitch.tv/mandatoryquest for that. And I'm also going to be streaming Jaws of the Lion sort of every day this week, pretty much, or at least for the next sort of like 3 days or so. So come hang out and yeah, watch some live. Okay, thanks again so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that's the blessing from Cowboy. That's the blessing from.
Isaac, at this point, can we get your approval to add an additional attack modifier deck for allies in the digital version?